Hey friends, I hope you're doing well. I just heard about David Lynch passing away, and I wanted to say a few words and pay tribute. If you're of a certain age, I think you'll be able to relate to this, especially if you grew up in, a rural part of America or middle America. When you're a kid growing up, we'll say in the 80s, the early 80s or whatever, you're a teenager, let's say you don't fit in, you don't really dig the mainstream stuff happening in movies or in music and television. You might like some of it, but you just can't relate to it. But meanwhile, the people that you're all around, they just love it. And you start thinking, is there something wrong with me? Why doesn't this resonate with me? Well, a guy like David Lynch was a cultural life raft to that kid. You find out about David Lynch and you realize, wow, there's a different way to do this. And it's okay. Maybe I can relate to this more than I can relate to this big blockbuster movie with a bunch of explosions. And I remember going to see Eraserhead at a late night movies. They used to have midnight movies, and they would show Song Remains the Same, Tommy, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Eraserhead was one of them that they were showing. And I remember walking in, and immediately the people just seemed different than the people I went to school with, the people I knew. Was just like, wow, these people are a lot. And you get to talking and you realize these people are closer to me. And movies like that created a community. Where David Lynch would make a movie and it be shown at some art house thing or whatever. And people realize it's okay that I don't like, whatever big blockbuster movie or whatever. And I remember being there and talking to people afterwards. I may not have even loved the movie, but I liked that it was different and it was odd to me. And talking to people, and somebody's like, well, hey man, there's a show at a friend of mine's basement next weekend. You ought to come to that. There's a band playing. I'm like, really? There's a band playing in somebody's basement? That's a thing? And yeah, man, why don't you come on out? And I remember going to it and meeting all of these other kids that were, the people that didn't fit in, the people that are just different, I was maybe the first time that I was ever around openly gay people, just a lot of different walks of life. And I liked it. I really enjoyed being around people I could just relate to a little bit more in a different way, we'll say. I still had my friends, but I could relate to these folks. David Lynch provided that. It's just like the bands that you would find out about. If you didn't like pop music, that was selling millions, and then somebody turns you on to Tom Waits, and it just kind of like, you hear Christmas Card from a hooker in Minneapolis, and you just kind of like, wow, this speaks to me. I get it, Who's this guy? And you realize it's never going to be the most popular thing ever, but it's beautiful. And it's great that it exists. The first time you hear Townes Van Zandt, and you kind of, what is going on here? There's so much like that, where you don't like the mainstream, guitar players doing the dweedly on the blues and all of that. And you're like, blues sucks. And then you hear Slim Harpo, you hear Scrapper Blackwell, you hear Robert Johnson, and you just realize, okay, there's a whole different world out there I didn't know about. And it's, people like David Lynch are the people reaching out their hands saying, come on over here and, try it out. The water's warm, give it a shot. Now, when I think of my favorite David Lynch movies or films or whatever, my absolute favorite is A Straight Story. And people don't always think of that when they say David Lynch. But I think that is an absolutely perfect movie that speaks to me in ways. And he did, I think it was released in 99. And the story is Richard Farnsworth plays a guy, Alvin Straight, who lives in Iowa. And he has a falling out with his brother, who's played by Harry Dean Stanton, years earlier. And they hadn't talked for decades. And he finds out that his brother is dying in Wisconsin. And Alvin Straight, this is a true story, by the way. Alvin Straight was going blind. He couldn't see very well, and his legs didn't work very well, so he couldn't. He didn't have a. It's very cold out here. Can you tell? He didn't have a driver's license, but he wanted to go see his brother before his brother died and maybe make amends. And so he hooked up a little trailer to his riding lawnmower and drove it across Iowa. And that's what the story is, him traveling across Iowa in a riding lawnmower so that he can see his brother and make peace with him before he dies. And Alvin Straight's daughter is played by Sissy Spacek, who is one of the people that funded Eraserhead. Didn't know that. But it's beautiful. The soundtrack is beautiful. I think it's a perfect movie. If you dig HUD or Paris, Texas, movies like that, I guess it's a road movie, but it doesn't completely feel like that to me. But if you dig those, I think you'll dig A Straight Story. And I'm going to read a quote that kind of hit me a little bit. Mary Sweeney is a person who worked with David Lynch on a bunch of different movies, and she read the story in the newspaper about Alvin Straight riding this lawnmower across Iowa to see his estranged brother. And she says, growing up in Wisconsin, I easily connected with that kind of stoic, nonverbal, stubborn, idiosyncratic American character. I get how hard it is to have quiet pride and dignity when you're old and poor and are living in the middle of nowhere. I understand what these people's dreams and frustrations are, and I loved how much his journey captured the national imagination. So wearing my producer's hat, I started trying to secure the rights. And it's a very un-David Lynch movie where there's not a lot of the strangeness and the weird, and I think that's a testament to his greatest skill. David Lynch was a great storyteller, and it's visually beautiful, just a great movie. And I think if you're watching this channel and you dig this channel, I think you'll dig that movie. And I don't know, man, it'd be a good way to pay tribute to David Lynch. Maybe you could tell me down below what your favorite David Lynch movies were. You know, who were the bands that offered that cultural life raft? You know, I was just talking to Amy, and she grew up in a town of 380 people, and she was saying that REM was kind of that, like before they blew up, and I completely get that. REM were a life raft to a lot of people. That it's like, how would you even know about them before the internet? Now everything's completely available, and you just have to have a curiosity and go look for it. But it was so hard to find this information back when, and it was so beautiful when you did find it. But anyway, I don't usually talk about movies on here or whatever, but I do feel like I talk about art, and I think David Lynch is worth talking about. And go watch A Straight Story, and I will see you somewhere down the road. I'll put the trailer right here. How about that? I'll put the trailer right here so you can watch it. Much love to you.